Alright, this video is probably gonna bomb, probably not gonna get that many views because honestly I want to get really nerdy in this one, and some of you are probably gonna want to just go and watch some of my other content about return on investments and sets that I sold and all of the fun stuff. And those of you who really want to take Lego investing seriously, you're probably gonna like more detail on how I pick winning Lego sets. So this is me getting a little more nerdy on the things that I do to pick winning Lego sets as an investment, pick the right sets before they start to go up in value so that we can build a business. Now here's the thing folks, when I first started as a Lego investor, I did not know what I was doing. I was just going into stores and I was just picking sets off the shelf that I thought that they looked good or I liked the design. I had no real structure to how I was picking sets as an investment. And since then, I have built up a specific system. You may have heard of it before. I call it the winning set system. I wrote an entire book about that is called Winning Set Secrets, where I walk through everything that I do when I'm researching sets and picking my winning sets. But the system and the things that I talk about in this book took years for me to develop. I started off small. I started just by researching similar sets, and then I added another signal and another signal and another signal until I figured out what are all of the things that really matter when I'm picking a set and how do I use them in my decision making. Now honestly, I'm not going to be able to break down this entire book here in one YouTube video. I'm going to talk about some of the high level concepts that I talk about inside of Winning Set Secrets and what are some of the big categories that I look out for when I'm picking winning sets. I'm not going to be able to go through everything. As you can see, there's a lot in here, but again, I'm going to give you some quick tips and quick things that you should be thinking about when it comes to picking winning sets right here, right now. And here's the thing, this book, Winning Set Secrets, is broken down into categories, and there are different categories of signals. I call them signals. It basically just means things that I look for in a winning set. When I'm looking at sets, what are the things that I care about? What are the things that I don't care about? Those are signals, and the signals fall into three categories. That's how I structured the book here, and the categories that they fall into is what I want to talk about here today, because I think that is a way for you to quickly see how you should structure your thinking when it comes to picking winning Lego sets. What are the big things that really matter with this? So what are these categories that I'm talking about here? I'm going to draw them out for you. So the way I kind of think about this is kind of like a triangle, because there are three main categories and they're all equally important to each other when it comes to you picking a winning Lego set. On one side here we have supply. On another side here we have demand. And that's where a lot of people would stop. They would think supply and demand, that's all that matters in economics, right? You've got supply, you got demand. If the supply is high and the demand is low, then the price will be low. If the supply is low and the demand is high, then the price will go up. This is what drives up the price. But when we are picking winning Lego sets, there is another thing that we need to be considering, and it is the value. And what I mean by value is what price can you get the set for, and is it worth that price? Because even if the signals in supply and demand look great and this set looks like a no-brainer, if the deal that is available to you is not great value, then you should not be buying it, because as an investment it won't have a good return on investment. So we need to think about value, we need to think about supply and demand. These are the three main categories. So let's break this down a little bit more here and let's talk about each of these three things individually. And let's start with supply. Supply with Lego investing is really interesting, because what happens with Lego investing is we have natural reduction of supply over time. When a Lego set stops getting manufactured, in other words retires, then from there forward you can only see a reduction in the supply over time, because as long as the set does not get re-released, then there will be no more manufactured, which means over time the supply that is available out there to be purchased in new condition or in used condition is going to be reduced. This adds a constraint on the supply, which really impacts the value of the set over time. But here's the thing, the supply, when you think about the supply of a Lego set, there is the supply while it's available, and then there is the supply in the aftermarket, and they are two different things. The supply when it's available, we're talking about the retail supply, and that can be influenced by things like how exclusive is the set? Can you only get it in certain stores? Is it only available for a short period of time? What is the shelf life of the set? These are things that determine the supply of the shelf while it is still being manufactured. But then after manufacturing has stopped, the set has been retired, then we're talking about the third party supply. Those are sellers like you and me. How much supply is out there on the marketplace from third party sellers? And when we think about that as Lego investors, when we're trying to pick winning sets, we want to make sure that we are buying sets that will have a lower supply than alternatives. We want low supply in the aftermarket. So we don't want to have sets that have been over hoarded by every other Lego investor out there. And instead, we want to try and find the sets that are flying under the radar and are low hanging fruit. So those are some of the big things we need to think about when it comes to supply, both during shelf life and in the aftermarket. We want to find sets that are low in supply. And there are a handful of different signals we can look at, of course, but the big picture here is we want to find sets that will be in low supply in the aftermarket, and we can do that by thinking about the supply during the shelf life and expecting what might happen in the aftermarket. So that is supply, but on the other side, of course, we have demand. Now, when it comes to demand, we want to find sets that are in strong demand. We want to find sets that are very, very popular, that have sustained demand over time. They are selling like hot cakes. That is super important for Lego investing, because as the price starts to go up in retirement, we want demand to stay strong. Now, if demand is weak before retirement, then if the price is 3x the MSRP, demand will be very weak. So we need to have sets that have strong demand. Now, the good thing is with Lego, most sets have good demand. This is the hottest selling toy brand in the world, and the fandom are absolutely incredible for Lego sets. So a lot of these Lego sets will have strong demand. The question becomes which ones will have the best demand, which ones will have better demand than alternatives, so we can have the best chance at going up in value. Because when that supply starts to come down and the demand stays super strong, the only thing that can happen is that price will go up significantly. And we can point to many examples of some of the best Lego investments of the last couple of years. Of course, we've had the TIE Fighter pilot helmet, for example, was a set that was very constrained in supply but had abnormally high demand. And that demand was driven by things like collectability, right? How collectible was this set? This was a very collectible set because a lot of people were collecting the Star Wars helmets and needed the TIE Fighter pilot to finish their collection. The set was also highly relevant to pop culture because it is topical of the moment. It is Star Wars. It's very relevant because there's new shows, new movies, everything coming out all the time. The set was well reviewed. It was very well loved by fans. It was a good build and a fun build. It had some unique parts inside the box. There were a handful of different signals that we could have looked at to know that the demand on this set was incredibly strong, even though the supply was constrained. And again, if you looked at these signals before the TIE Fighter pilot helmet retired, then you could have identified that this was going to be an incredible Lego investment. I actually made 3 different videos, and I think it might have been even more than 3, back before this set retired, where I talked about the set and how good I thought that this would be as an investment. And the reason I talked about this set so much is because these signals look strong. So with demand, we want to find sets that are selling abnormally fast, that have really, really strong demand, and in general are well loved in the community. But it is not enough to just think about the demand today. We also need to think about whether that will be sustained in the future, or will it actually be bumped up in the future? Will there be an increase or a surge in demand in the future that could be caused by a new movie release or something like that? So we have supply, where we want to try and find sets that are undersupplied. We have demand, where we want to find sets that have abnormally strong demand. And in the middle then, of course, we have value. We want to find great deals because we want to buy the sets at great prices that make sense. Now in value, of course, we could look at things like the price per piece of the set to make sure we're getting a good bang for our buck, the number of minifigs and number of the unique minifigs in the set, because that can increase the tangible value of the set over time. The part out value of the set on Bricklink, for example, which shows us what all the parts are worth, and a lot of other different things that we could think about here. But the key idea, of course, is that we're looking for sets that will have low supply in the future, will have sustained demand in the future, and we can get them for a good deal right now, and the value is there. And when I am analyzing sets, these are literally the big categories that I am looking at. Inside of the book, again, I break it down a lot more detail, but this is the structure of the book. It is the categories that I am analyzing. Now, all of these things only matter after you've already filtered out sets that are not retiring. You don't even want to be looking at sets that are not retiring. And also filter down to some themes that you like and that you want to focus on. And after you've done those things, then you're going to start to think about supply, demand, and value. And over time, I've learned how to apply these signals into my set picking. My set picking has massively improved as a result, and no longer am I just walking into stores, picking stuff off the shelves and hoping for the best. So if you really want to take Lego investing seriously, I definitely recommend that you build yourself a system of how you're going to pick winning sets. You don't need to take my system. You can create your own one over time. You'll figure out what works for you. But if you want the shortcuts and you want to learn exactly how I do it, then I definitely recommend grabbing yourself a copy of Winning Set Secrets. I'll leave a link in the description down below where you can pick this up. The things that I talk about in this book, honestly, they should dramatically improve the way you look at picking sets, and no longer will it just be guesswork. So I definitely recommend getting yourself a copy of Winning Set Secrets. But I hope that this was a useful overview, because I really just kind of broke it all down here from the high level: supply, demand, and value. I hope that this makes sense. And what are some of the things that you have found important for picking winning sets? Let me know in the comments down below. And when you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for being here. And once again, I'm Shane from brickbucks.net, and I will see you in the next one.